Brazil has just rejected the G7's multi-million-dollar offer to help combat the Amazon wildfires.
The Brazilian president, Jair Bolsonaro, says he doesn't want foreign money to help fight the wildfires in the Amazon. He has dismissed the sum of $20 million offered at the G7 summit in France, saying he suspects the motives of G7 leaders.
Macron offers aid from rich countries to the Amazon. Does anyone help anyone if it is not a poor person without something in return?
Bolsonaro's chief of staff, Onyx Lorenzoni, told the O Globo G1 website that Brazil appreciated the offer, but maybe those resources are more relevant to reforest Europe, before adding that the French president, Emmanuel Macron, cannot even avoid a foreseeable fire in a church that is a World Heritage Site. What does he intend to teach our country? The rejection of aid and criticism of the French president was made even though the Brazilian Environment Minister, Ricardo Salles, had initially welcomed the offer of help. Tensions have risen between France and Brazil after Macron said the Amazon fires amounted to an international crisis for the G7 to address. Bolsonaro reacted by accusing him of a colonialist mentality. Then Bolsonaro endorsed a comment on social media that Macron was persecuting him because Madame Macron was not as beautiful as his own wife. That was something Macron deplored.
This is sad. It's sad for him, first of all, and sad for Brazilians. I think that Brazilian women are probably ashamed seeing this about their president.
The war of words is distracting from what is a huge crisis in the Amazon, and with Bolsonaro previously saying his government lacked the money to fight the fires.
Aid that would be made available immediately to help cover the cost of firefighting planes. France also agreed to give military support to help fight the fires. Now, there are a bit of mixed messages coming from the Brazilian government. The environment minister said he would accept the help, but that is not what we're hearing from the president. President Jair Bolsonaro sent out a series of tweets in Portuguese saying they cannot accept based on Macron's attacks over the Amazon, and that the idea of an alliance with the G7 countries to save the Amazon treats Brazil like a colony when it should be respecting Brazil's sovereignty. Now, Bolsonaro's chief of staff spoke with Portuguese media as well, saying, in fact, the fires aren't out of control and that maybe those resources are more relevant to reforest Europe, and more specifically targeted the French president Macron, saying Macron can't even avoid a predictable fire in a church that is part of the world's heritage, and he wants to give us lessons for our country, obviously talking about the fire at Notre Dame. But these fires are also burning in a number of other countries, Heather, including Bolivia, Peru, Paraguay. So the money, if Brazil doesn't want it, will be offered to fight fires there. It is, however, unclear at this point what Bolsonaro's response to Canada's separate offer of aid is. Yesterday, Trudeau offered an additional $15 million and to send Canadian water bombers, but the political tension here is growing.
And the tensions are also seemingly increasing, Renee, between Bolsonaro and other leaders. Very personal tensions in the case of Emmanuel Macron. Talk a little bit more about those and how Bolsonaro is responding to their outside criticism.
Yeah, that's right. Macron seems to be the central target for his anger. In fact, Bolsonaro poked fun at the appearance of Macron's wife online, which the president responded saying it was extremely disrespectful and that it's sad for him and sad for Brazilians. Now, France and Ireland have threatened to tear up a trade deal between the EU and a number of countries in South America, the biggest player being Brazil over the fires. Bolsonaro doesn't like the way he's being painted here, specifically about his policies in the Amazon and how deforestation could be the cause of these fires. So we're now hearing reports that the Brazilian government has ordered its diplomats to go on the offensive to spread the message that fires in the region are normal and that things are under control.
Renee, thanks so much. Renee is in London.
Brazil has rejected that $20 million donation from G7 to fight the fires in the Amazon. All right, Ash, why did they turn it down?
Because they don't like the sentiment, they say, behind it. They say that Brazil is a democratic, free nation that has never had colonialist or imperialist practices, as perhaps is the object, they say, of the Frenchman Macron. Oh. Now, the war of words between Macron and Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, has been getting uglier and uglier. The Brazilians making fun of Macron's wife, Brigitte. Now they say that they won't accept any money if they do consider it until Mr. Macron apologizes to Brazil for treating Brazil, they say, like a colony.
Meanwhile, Bolsonaro is privatizing everything
in that country. Oh,
he
absolutely.
Really is. There was so much corruption in government-run enterprises previously. Yeah. He sees it, can have it. He's going to privatize them.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Fascinating.
Totally different from most Europeans.
Yeah.
All right.
From above, destruction. A treasure of the world being decimated by fire.
This is not just a forest burning. This is almost a cemetery because all you can see is dead.
And the loss is becoming ever more stark. The Amazon is turning to ashes, this indigenous leader says. We can't continue like this. On the other side of the world, Emmanuel Macron called the Amazon irreplaceable, announcing the G7's monetary pledge. Much of the blame is being heaped on Brazil's far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro. Protesters say his anti-environmental rhetoric and lack of action on deforestation have fueled the fires. Today, Bolsonaro balked at the foreign aid, accusing G7 leaders of treating Brazil like a colony and asking, do you think someone helps without something in return? Even if welcomed, activists say the foreign money is not enough.
It's quite too late, honestly, to really tackle these fires. The scale of it are now very big, and it's going to be hard to extinguish them.
The aid will be used mainly for water bombers, while Brazil's firefighters take the lead on the ground. Beyond the flames, a bigger question.
We got to put these fires out, but longer term, what can we do so that this doesn't happen year after year after year?
A challenge for Brazil and the world.
Look, it's unfortunate that Brazil doesn't want to accept the offer. We have an opportunity to work together. We will continue doing what we can. We'll look at other partners in the region because we need to take action to protect the Amazon. The Amazon is hugely important when it comes to the environment we all enjoy, and the impacts on the Amazon of deforestation of these forest fires just accelerates climate change. So look, we're going to be looking for partnerships, and I think that we'll continue looking at every way we can move forward because we're all in this together. We have offered we've offered financial support. We've also offered support to fight the fires. We have great teams, firefighting teams, and unfortunately, it seems that Brazil hasn't accepted the offer. But there are many countries that are, the other countries that are involved, and so we are even right as we speak. Environment and Climate Change Canada is providing modeling, air dispersion modeling to the government of Argentina. So we're certainly hoping that we can work with the other partners.